Well, good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Peter Ferrugia, and welcome to the People Make History public talk for the winter 2022 term. It's a great pleasure to be here and to have Kate Armstrong talking to the History 126 class, as well as other guests. I just want to say a couple of things before we start. One, you'll note that this is being recorded, so govern yourselves accordingly. And secondly, I just want to thank all those who have made this event possible. It would be impossible without the Mary Stedman bequest. We have been fortunate enough to benefit from that and host a number of different speakers. Some of you may be aware we've had an apartheid activist, we've had Korean War vets, we've had a Black Miss Canada contestant, we've had the creator of Degrassi, the television series. So we've had a really interesting range of people who've been able to speak, and it's been a great event that's been well attended over the years. And I'd also like to thank Dr. Tara Brookfield. This was her brainchild, and she's worked very hard to make this series a success. And it's something we do every term, and it's one of the highlights of the term, actually. So welcome, everyone. And without further ado, I'll hand it over to Robert Singleton, who's going to do the land acknowledgement.
As we gather this morning to hear from a trailblazer in Canadian history, it is important to remember that all Canadian history takes place on land that was forcibly taken from its original inhabitants. The land we work and study on at Wilfrid Laurier University is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, Haudenosaunee, and Neutral peoples. As we continue to grow as a society, it becomes important for us to acknowledge our faults, and that includes the historic and present-day mistreatment of the Indigenous peoples and the complicated history of Indigenous settler relations.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much, Robert, for the land acknowledgement and for Dr. Ferrugia inviting us into your class today. I'm Dr. Tara Brookfield. I'm a professor in Youth and Children's Studies in the History Department, and I'm so excited to welcome our speaker today and introduce her for you. So Kate Armstrong is the award-winning author of the memoir, The Stone Frigate, the Royal Military College's first female cadet speaks out. Here is a copy of the book, and when I'm done speaking, I'll pop in the chat a discount code for any of you who are interested in ordering the book. Her press, Dundurn Press, has offered 20% off. This book was published in 2019, and it is a really incredible read of her story that she'll share parts of today about what that experience was like, what motivated her to join the Royal Military College, and what her experiences were like to be part of that first class of women who were invited for the first time to train at the college. The book was named a winner of the 2020 Ontario Historical Society's Alison Prentice Award for the best book on women's history, and was a finalist for the 2020 Kobo Emerging Writers Prize in Nonfiction. Kate Armstrong has served for 13 years in the military after her stint at the Royal Military College, and she worked as a logistics officer. After her military career, she worked in the corporate world of electricity trading, which sounds really exciting and maybe a topic for an entirely different talk, before fulfilling her dream as a writer. Armstrong is an alumni of several nonfiction residency programs where she crafted her skill as a writer, such as the Banff Center for the Arts and Sage Hill Writing. She is currently working on her first novel, and I hope I can have a chance to ask a question about what that's going to be about. She's joining us today from British Columbia, very early, so thank you, Kate, for coming so early. And she lives in the mountains near Nelson with her husband, Rick, and her 3 black labs who, the benefit of Zoom is sometimes the pet appearances. So if the 3 black labs make an appearance, we'd love to see them. So welcome, Kate. We look forward to listening to you and learning from you today.
Thank you, Tara. It's really great to be here, and thank you for that introduction. Good morning, and I'm delighted to be here today as a guest of Wilfrid Laurier University to present the Winter 2022 People Make History lecture hosted by the History Department on the Brantford campus. I too am grateful to the estate of Mary Stedman for her generous support, which allows this program to exist and presents me with the opportunity to share memories of my life that make critical links between the past and our contemporary times. Before we get started, I wanted to thank again Dr. Tara Brookfield for reading my memoir and reaching out with this generous invitation to speak today. And to Dr. Peter Ferrugia, who is hosting this event in his War and Society class. And of course, thank you to everyone for attending today. Without you, there would be no event. During my half-hour presentation, I'll do a short reading from my memoir, The Stone Frigate, the Royal Military College's first female cadet speaks out, and speak on the topic for about 25 minutes or so before opening up the conversation to questions. So first, the reading. I just want to set the stage for the portion that I've chosen to read. At this point in my memoir, we'd been through some pretty horrific stuff as recruits at RMC. And I was really looking forward to the start of classes, which meant that we would have break from being with our fourth years of being in charge of us. Mr. Kendall, who will appear in this portion of the reading, was my cadet section commander, the fourth year recruit staff in charge of me, and Meg, mate. Chapter 7, Academics. We went straight to the old gym for our textbooks, and when we got back, I marched down the hall at the specified QuickTime pace, executed a crisp left turn, and halted in front of Mr. Kendall's door. I knocked 3 times as instructed. Enter. I opened the door, took 1 step forward into his room, and snapped to attention. This was my first time in a non-recruit room. The decorative throw pillows and duvet cover, plants, and a collage of photo frames around his desk surprised me. The air carried a faint trace of incense. A khaki-colored poster with the burgundy silhouette headshot of a long-haired guy in a beret with a communist star was the only wall art. Mr. Kendall was seated at his desk, flipping through a pile of papers. Excuse me, Mr. Kendall, 14390 recruit Armstrong, KA-1 Squadron, A Flight 3 section reporting, I said to his back. Yes, Miss Armstrong, he said, turning halfway in his chair toward me. Mr. Kendall, there's been some kind of mistake. I've been given first-year engineering books, but my degree program is commerce. Everyone here studies engineering in first year, Miss Armstrong. You switched to non-engineering degree program curricula in second year, he said. I was dumbstruck. I'd come prepared for a different answer, feeling resolute that it was a simple mistake, but now my head swam with anxiety. So you're the first, he said, turning around to shuffle the papers on his desk into a stack. I beg your pardon, Mr. Kendall? First woman in history to be assigned a cadet college number at RMC. He looked up at me. College numbers are assigned alphabetically. Armstrong, that makes you first. Very well, Mr. Kendall, I said uncertainly. Our eyes locked. You say that now, he replied with a grin. Anything else? My throat clenched into a burning lump. Don't cry, don't cry, don't cry. No, Mr. Kendall, I replied. Permission to carry on? Carry on, Miss Armstrong. I returned to our room, parched and sweating. I'd taken commerce prerequisites in high school, law, economics, statistics. I had only physics 12, chemistry 11, no biology, and poor math preparation. My high school didn't even offer calculus. I went straight for the sink. The tap flowed glorious cold water. I gulped at the stream. Do you know the guys piss in the sinks? Meg said as she shelved her last textbook. I stood straight up and water splashed down my sweaty work dress shirt. Dahl told me they're furthest from the men's washroom. He said they just piss in their sinks. Everyone does it. We don't though, right? I looked at her. Meg burst out laughing. God, no. Good, I said, bending over the sink again. So my topic today is Surviving the Ultimate Boys Club, Reflections from Royal Military College's first female cadet. Surviving is defined as continuing to live or exist in spite of danger or hardship or conflict, to remain alive, to manage to keep going. I didn't write my memoir because I was having a bad day. It took me 30 years to muster the courage to write it. Today, I'll share my behind-the-scenes story, if you will, on how I ended up going to RMC in the first place, what happened in my life afterward that propelled me to write my memoir, and what my life is like since my book has been published. I was born in 1962 and grew up in a middle-class family, mostly in British Columbia. My father was a manager for the Eaton's catalog stores, so we moved around a lot. My mother was a secretary. I'm the youngest of 5 children, 2 girls and 3 boys. My sister is oldest, then my 3 brothers, and then me. In 1974, when I was 12, my family was living in Williams Lake, BC. That year, the local Air Cadet Squadron allowed girls to join for the first time. My older brothers were currently or had been Air Cadets. I wanted to be an Air Cadet too. I learned about the glider pilot training program and knew I wanted to go for it. When I was 16, in the summer after my grade 10, I went to Nanaimo, BC to earn my glider pilot license on an Air Cadet scholarship. From the moment the wings were pinned on my chest, I wanted to become a pilot in the military. In the fall of my grade 12 year, I went to the recruiting center to apply for a university officer training program in Vancouver and to sign up as a pilot. The recruiters laughed at me and said that women weren't allowed to become pilots. I was astonished since they trained me to fly gliders as a teenager. They told me that RMC was accepting applications for women to attend the college for the first time starting the next fall. If I really wanted to become a pilot, that would be the best place for me to be when the classification opened up for women. So I applied to go to RMC and study commerce. Straight out of high school, I went to basic officer training for 10 weeks and arrived at RMC in August 1980. What happened next is covered at great length in my memoir, but in the context of today, it didn't take me long to understand that I really couldn't quit. As one of the first women, the stakes were much higher than simply considering what I wanted for myself, for my own life. If I quit, if all the women quit or failed out, the ultimate boys club would be able to claim that we were not capable and that women couldn't cut it. Recruit chairman first year was really challenging for me. The intensity of the scrutiny was crushing. It seemed I just couldn't catch a break and I was punished for every misstep. As an active group, the women were bullied based on our gender. The 4th year class made a game out of sexual conquest of the women recruits. The class of 1983, 1 year ahead of us, called themselves, and still do to this day, LCWB, last class with balls. They called us FCWC, first class with Cs. And I'll give you a hint. The C stands for something that I'm not allowed to say on CBC radio. At the end of my first year, pilot classification opened up for women candidates. I was forced to choose between chasing my dream to become a pilot or finishing RMC. I chose RMC. In second year, I was stalked by a guy who wanted me to be his girlfriend. He was in a position of authority over me, and when I refused to date him, he made my life miserable. In third year, I would be punished to the point of nearly being kicked out of the college for being alone in my boyfriend's room with him. The 4th year cadet who reported us was later caught doing the same thing and worse, but the commandant helped him manage the fallout and he eventually was rewarded for his display of integrity. Still, I stayed. I survived RMC. I graduated with a commerce degree in the class of 1984 and was promoted to second lieutenant. At that point in my life, I assumed the worst was behind me. I'd successfully emancipated myself from my family. RMC was over. I had a university degree and felt poised for success in life. I was an independent young woman at the start of my military career as a logistics officer. That's when I discovered that the behaviors and attitudes I had survived at RMC within the Ultimate Boys Club existed within the military as well. The gender discrimination and sexual misconduct was staggering and crazy making. Early in my career, upon my promotion to captain, I was offered an extension to my service engagement. By then, I knew I didn't want to be a lifetime career officer, and I refused the offer. In 1986, 2 years after my graduation, I knew I wanted to tell my story, my truth about what it was really like for me to be one of the first women at RMC. It occurred to me that someone, somewhere, at some time, might want to know the reality of what we had endured in the early years as women at the college. And I also realized that I had better wait until I left the military. In May 1993, I completed my military service contract, took my release from the Canadian Armed Forces, and moved back to Vancouver. I was terrified. I'd been in the military since I was 18 years old. I had no concept of civilian life as an adult or having anything to offer in the real world. I had no idea of what an amazing education and work experience I'd gained through my 13 years as an officer. I had a fleeting thought. Now that I'm out of the military, I could write my book about being a cadet at RMC, but I was afraid. So I decided to put it behind me instead, close the door on that part of my past and let it stay there. Within a month, I was offered a fabulous job in BC Hydro, working as a labor relations officer, and settled into my new career in my civilian life in Vancouver. Fast forward 5 years, Enron had won their bid to deregulate the North American electricity market and open it up to competition. Through a series of happy coincidences, I had changed jobs and was working in grid operations for BC Hydro as the manager of the department responsible for the scheduling the flow of electricity on our transmission lines. One day, I got a call from the vice president of marketing and sales in PowerX, which is a wholly owned subsidiary of BC Hydro responsible for the electricity trading arm of the company. He asked to meet with me at the White Spot restaurant on Lougheed Highway after work. This guy was notorious for loving the clandestine meetings, but I knew it meant he was considering me for a job at PowerX. These were the most coveted jobs in BC Hydro and the sexy new career of electricity trader working on the PowerX trade floor. Excuse me. I met with him. He offered me a job in real-time electricity trader, buying and selling electricity that would literally be generated and flow in the next hour. After I accepted the offer, the VP said to me, "By the way, I didn't hire you just because you have big boobs." "Good to know," was my reply. He pretty much could have said anything to me because I wanted that job so badly. There were 12 real-time traders on the team. Only one other woman was working there ahead of me. She was very bright and hardworking and a really good trader. Our boss in real time had made life miserable for her because she was a woman. When I started in the department, I was hoping she would buddy up with me and we could support each other. Instead, she took the opportunity to move up the power over food chain, and I was immediately saddled with being lowest in the pecking order. I took her old spot. Being a real-time trader was extremely intense and challenging job, even without the added stress of being treated as the underdog. In the first year, I was shorted on my bonus compared with my peers. I knew this because our salaries were published every year. PowerX is a Crown corporation and the information is publicly available. During my second year, I made the decision at the 6-month mark to apply for another opportunity within PowerX as a marketing manager. So my bonus for that year would be split 50-50 between real-time and my new job. In the military, our annual performance reviews included an overall rating compared to our peers: top third, middle third, bottom third. I decided to look at my performance in real time and see the reality of where I stood compared to the other traders. According to the team dynamics, I was whale poop on the bottom of the ocean, but I needed to know for myself. Every hour, 24/7 for the whole year, the real-time trade sheets listed the name of a trader on shift and a profit for trades executed in that hour. In my own time, I went through the 6 months of sheets to see how my performance stacked up against my peers, to see if I was top, middle, or bottom third. There was a golden boy on the team. When I added up the hourly profit tally for each of the 12 traders, I expected him to be first overall. He was second. I was first overall during those 6 months, first. In my exit interview from that job, I brought this file to my meeting and showed my boss and the VP who had hired me in the first place. They said, "Oh, you just got lucky." I said, "Maybe for an hour, a day, a week, but overall for 6 months, I don't think so." They shorted me on my bonus that year too. My new job as a marketing manager was to negotiate more complex long-term energy deals worth tens of millions of dollars. The job was client-oriented and hinged on establishing long-term relationships. I was assigned to an underdeveloped market area for PowerX, where it was going to be most challenging to structure deals: the American Southwest, Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, Nevada, and Utah. The VP told me to feel free to have sex with my clients if it would help me to close deals. I didn't, and I didn't say anything about his comment because I wanted that job so badly. I took the job, and instead, I vowed to stop looking at pay levels. I would be making really good money. I decided I would stay or go based on being happy in the job. Besides, I already knew it wouldn't make any difference if I complained. about what I earned compared to the guys, obviously, except to likely get me fired. Years later, when that VP retired, I told the big boob story at his retirement roast. The next morning, when I walked into work, the handful of women on the trade floor stood at their desks and cheered for me, like in the final scene from An Officer and a Gentleman, when Richard Gere goes back and gets Deborah Winger from the factory. You can Google it on YouTube if you have no idea what I'm talking about. They cheered because, of course, he hadn't just said those sorts of things to me. I knew the stories. The balance of probabilities is that this kind of behavior takes place on a continuum. Some women had less, some had more, some had worse, but pretty much all of us had some. Eventually, the golden boy from Real Time got promoted and became my boss. We worked well together for about 10 years. I turned the Southwest into a profitable region for our company. When he left PowerX, he took me aside just before quitting. "I owe you an amends," he said. "Why?" I asked. I was surprised and had always really liked him. "In Real Time, when I was the golden boy and you were being treated like crap, when I would make mistakes, I used to blame you." "What the expletive?" I said. He said, "It was so easy to blame you. I knew they would believe me. I'm really sorry." I told him it was okay and thanked him for apologizing to me, but inside I felt devastated. By January 2012, my life had led me to the tipping point of needing to make a decision and take action on what was really important to me. One evening, on my walk home from work, I started to think about personal power and my growing sense of dissatisfaction. The power wasn't being taken away from me because in our patriarchal power over culture, I never had it. I felt like it was being withheld, that no matter how hard I tried, I wasn't being allowed to thrive. A question sat before me. How can I communicate this common occurrence in our lives as women and let others know they're not alone? What can I do to be part of this important conversation in a more meaningful way? The answer surged through me, fully formed, as if it had been waiting for me to ask. Write your book. My next thought was, but I've arrived. I worked in a plum job in a plum corporation in a downtown Vancouver office tower with a view of the ocean. I owned a stunning corner view condo in Yaletown, looking out over False Creek Harbor, where my 40-foot sailboat was moored. I'd worked hard to create this lifestyle, and the thought of giving it up seemed insane. Still, that little part of me was activated. It was time to tell my truth. We're told in a million different ways, this is what success looks like. These are the ingredients of happiness. If I really wanted to look and be honest, I could admit what I had been suspecting for years. Making lots of money, having stuff and privilege and corporate success wasn't really making me feel fulfilled in my life. Someone told me that the secret of happiness is freedom and the secret of freedom is courage. I quit my job and set to work on writing my memoir. By the time I made the decision to share my story, I'd spent 32 years working in male-dominated careers, literally surviving the ultimate boys club, but never thriving in it. It took me 2 years to decompress from my corporate life and write the first draft of The Stone Frigate, which turned out to be a whopping 265,000 words. The published version is around 77,000 words. In September of 2014, I went to Banff Center for the Arts on an emerging writer residency and met my future editor, Elizabeth Phillips. I needed her help to cut out the extraneous parts of my monolith first draft manuscript. Later, after being at the Banff Center, I went back to Kingston for my 30th reunion weekend at RMC. In the epilogue of The Stone Frigate, I share about having lunch with one of my recruit flight staff. He told me about a meeting the fourth years had had when we arrived as recruits and their decision to make life tough for me. That lunch was a turning point in my life. I had never, honestly, ever considered that men openly colluded together against their female subordinates and peers to prevent them from succeeding or outshining their male counterparts. They did it openly and on purpose. I had been naive. Suddenly, my life experience made sense. I knew at that lunch what my book was about. I knew that I had a distorted view of myself. I'd always suspected this, but his disclosure made me realize it was real. that I had endured gaslighting beyond my wildest understanding of the concept. I finally looked through the public records at what PowerX had paid me compared with my male peers. I discovered that while I was being paid $200,000 a year, my male peers were being paid $400,000 a year for doing the exact same job. There was absolutely no objective reason for this pay disparity. It was the same for all the women on the trade floor. We were paid less, much less. Meanwhile, the head traders were paying themselves $1 million a year. They did it because they could get away with it. Pay equity in British Columbia is the law, equal pay for equal work. Yet women were working in a government company, a provincial crown corporation, and being paid half the income of our male peers. The threads to connect the edits in my book became clear. It remains culturally unnecessary to treat women as equals. All those years of writing my memoir, delving into my past, reflecting on how honest to be about what happened to me as one of the first women to attend the Royal Military College, and agonizing over what telling my truth was going to mean for me, for my life and those in my life, and how scary it would be to have my story out there in the world, I wondered if I would survive the ordeal, if I would have the courage to go through with it. When the first draft of the Stone Frigate took shape, and I finally felt like it was really going to happen and I would actually get it done, my editor, Liz Phillips, whom at that point I had met years previously in Banff and who knew me well by then, told me, Kate, your story won't make total sense unless you include your family. Otherwise, readers won't understand why you would choose to stay at RMC. So I wrote my childhood abuse into my story. And the whole thing blew wide open for me. I understood so much more about my life and myself when I laid those two threads down beside each other and wove them together. When the revised draft, the comprehensive draft, was ready, I sent it back to Liz. At that point, I had never even published a single article, poem, or word, really. The Stone Frigate was my first writing effort. I said to her, I'm terrified to put this story out into the free world. She said, yes, you should be. It's hard enough for a writer to let others see their work under any circumstances. And what you've accomplished in the content is above and beyond. You're jumping into the deep end of it all. She said, the reward, the true reward, will be every reader who sees themselves in your story, every single person. And I felt hope. Hope that sharing my story may help someone else to find the courage to make a difficult decision in their life, to chase a dream, to no longer accept being the victim of abuse, to quit a job, to go after a job, to finish something that's difficult. For every person who makes a decision to stand up for themselves, makes a decision to speak up and speak out when they're weary of a situation in their lives. The changes we want in our culture will come from these acts of courage. And it's true, I had no idea what was going to come of my book being out in the world. That the commandant of RMC in 2019, General Sebastian Bouchard, would take my book on a trip to Mexico and read it and think about it and come home and start handing it out to senior military officers, saying enough is enough. That the principal of RMC, Dr. Harry Cole, would invite me back to the college to present the 2019 Young Memorial Lecture on leadership. That they would both support me in telling my story. That young women in high school who were contemplating RMC as a future choice for themselves would write to me and say that they really wanted to go out to RMC, but weren't sure. And then they read my book and thought, I can do it. And other women, graduates and women cadets from RMC who told me, that officer in your memoir did the exact same thing to me. I was a cadet 10 years after you, and some of those things you wrote about were still happening. I'm a cadet now, and I know exactly what you're talking about. And civilian women would read my book and write to me and say, your story resonates with my life struggle at med school, dental school, becoming a partner in a law firm, being an investment banker, being a woman composer, being a woman in the world. My relationship with my mom was hard too. I was abused when I was little too. I felt less alone when I read your story. My book has been out for 3 years, and in the early days, I was filled with a sense of optimism that sharing what was real for me may help to affect the positive changes that I wanted to see in the world. These are my reflections on what I've learned about living in reality. Reality shapes and defines us, but reality is like poetry, and most people hate poetry. Only when we have the courage to look at ourselves, when we understand how we've been shaped by the power structures in our lives, can we change ourselves. In my life now, I reflect every morning on what will constitute right action for my day. Often, right action requires me to do something that I would rather not do. Sometimes, the very thing I would rather not do. Speak up for myself or take care of myself. Our Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms was passed into law 40 years ago in 1982. We changed the law, but we have a long way to go to change minds. On the surface, there remains a strong undercurrent, an undertow of old attitudes and unwelcome behaviors that continue to block women and all people from being able to enjoy their freedoms under the law without a struggle. Laws won't change our culture. It's not a top-down solution. Discrimination based on gender is illegal. It happens today. Pay equity is a law in BC, and it's not enforced. Violence against women is the #1 crime in the world. Sexual misconduct is a crime that rarely draws a conviction in our legal system. We live in a top-tier country in the world for human rights. If we can't get it right here, how can we hope to get it right in the rest of the world? We have to change our world from out here on the edges, each within our own sphere of influence. By now, women should face their career challenges on a level playing field, but the odds remain stacked against us. When I get on a plane and see a woman pilot sitting in the captain's seat, I feel happy for her. I can only imagine how hard she must have had to work to earn that seat and how good she must have had to be beyond what was expected of her male peers. The conflicts brewing today are only superficially about who will take power. Underneath is a deeper struggle to change the nature of the power in which our culture is rooted. I've learned the distinction between powerlessness and owning my power. There are things that I'm powerless to do, no matter how long or how hard I try. These things include changing people, knowing what they're really thinking, and making them treat me different. That's powerlessness for me. Owning my power is accepting my right to take care of myself under any and all circumstances with any person. I'm learning that I always have choices, and the options that I choose, I can choose without guilt. When news breaks of a travesty in someone's life, some people will say, she should have told someone, perhaps without understanding the amount of courage it takes to speak out, the inherent risks involved in confronting those who hold power in her life, family, academic, social, community, legal, career. Consider this as well. What if she did ask for help and was shut down? She may have been counseled to keep it to herself, told it wasn't worth pursuing, advised not to blow up her life for a fight she'll never win, or even punished for speaking truth. Even worse, her disclosure may have been discounted or dismissed, even so far as being told, that could never have happened. You don't remember it correctly. Are you sure that happened? Perhaps the trusted confidant went on the defensive of the perpetrator and maybe even took steps to protect them from the consequences. They expect the victim to keep living her life, perhaps in the company of someone who committed a crime against her, and pretend that what happened didn't really happen and that she's okay with it now. This treatment represents another kind of trauma, a secondary trauma that can be catastrophic. What someone really needs to hear when they have the courage to ask for help is, I believe you. I'm sorry that happened to you. How can I help you? It's going to take a long time for us to change the nature of power in which our culture is rooted. To be honest, I don't think I will live to see noticeable progress. I lost myself in the struggle for decades within my own family and within my career. And one day I thought, what happened to me? I used to be fun. I'm finding my way back to balance. Now I still stand in for myself, and I absolutely insist on enjoying my life. The great reward of balance for me is knowing that what I'm doing and how I've done it and how I choose to live in the space where I own my power to speak truth and claim my inherent birthright for equality with all persons in my soul self is the place from which I can most profoundly do my part in women's struggle for emancipation and cherish my own life at the same time. The true gift, excuse me, in the writing has been the lives I've been able to touch and the people who have touched my life in return. The new friends I've made and how much joy I experience through our connections. Because when a woman's life changes, our families change and our communities change. That's because that's what women do. We take the changes back home to live with us in our world. I can't change my past and what happened to me or how I handled situations. The focus of my journey now is towards self-healing, self-change, and union. The change we've been waiting for will come from within us. If something feels right, we feel in harmony, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. If a place or a person or a situation doesn't work for us, that's okay. We can speak up and ask directly for what we need. If our needs aren't met, we don't have to stay. We can try something else and find a place where we do feel right. What we choose to do with our lives may not change the world, but if we have courage to live true to ourselves, it will change our world. If we can accept that the secret of freedom is courage, the only question that remains is how free do we want to be? When I was a young woman, I read and was deeply impacted by a book titled Women Who Run with the Wolves by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. In the book, she speaks of female archetypes in story and mythology. I'll close with a quote from her work. The real miracle of individuation and reclamation of the wild woman is that we all begin the process before we're ready, before we're strong enough, before we know enough. We begin a dialogue with thoughts and feelings that both tickle and thunder in us. We respond before we know how to speak the language, before we know all the answers, and before we know exactly to whom we're speaking. Thank you.